exception handling, list methods, and tuple. So let us begin with lambda function. What is the meaning of lambda function? What is the purpose of lambda function? First, you try to understand that. Lambda function is like a mathematical function. It is mapping function where one variable you can replace with its expansion. Okay. For example, you want to increase uh, any element with 5 without using mathematical operator. How can you do that? For that purpose, we have lambda function. Lambda is inbuilt. Okay. So you can see here, say I want to increase value by 5. So I'm making a lambda function named as increase equals to the syntax. Lambda is inbuilt keyword. Okay. Then since it is a mapping function, so you can assume any variable, say assuming variable x. Now x you want to increase by 5, so therefore colon x plus 5. That means you have defined a lambda that whenever it gets value, any value, it will increase by 5, and the increase thing is always written at this time. So you how to write a lambda? You will write lambda space variable, any variable, say x colon. How you want to update? The destination is x plus 5. So here you want to update value by 5. So let us try to see what will happen when you print increase. So let's see this. So I said lambda is inbuilt. So whenever you print function, you will see output like this, that function lambda is so and so place. You want the value of the function, therefore you have to pass some value to the function. Only you will get the answer. So here in increase, you have to pass some value which should be increased by 5. Therefore, say you want to print here, you are passing say 6 and then run. Now you can see that the first print is only increased, so therefore it is printing function lambda at so and so place, and the second value, second printf, you are saying increase 6. That means you are passing a value, so that value getting updated by 5. This is done with only one element. Say you have a list of elements and every element should be increased with 5, then what? Okay, so let's see that. So increase list item by 5. So already we have defined a lambda function increase. Okay, so now we want to pass it to all the variable of a string. So all the variables of a list. So therefore we'll take one list. We have list L and the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All the elements should be increased by 5. So next function comes map. So whenever you want to apply lambda function to list or to a multiple of item, you will pass lambda function to map function. Map is also inbuilt. Okay, so map, then map is a function. It accepts two parameters. First parameter will always be a lambda. lambda function. So what is the lambda function? You have seen here increase. Increase is a lambda function. So therefore, first parameter you will write increase, comma. Now, on what list, on which list you are going to apply, that you will write next parameter. So this is L. So you will apply on L. Okay. It will generate all the elements updated with the value 5 plus 5. So let us try to save this, because it is going to give you lots of element, but it is not stored somewhere. So it will treat it as object. So if you print, then see what will happen. So it is showing that the objects is at starting address of the list is given. Okay. Now you want to convert to a, hello. Okay. Now if you want to convert it to a list, so therefore you have to store this to some list variable, say L1 equals to this thing, and then print it. Now we'll see what will happen. So again, it is showing list of things. So therefore you have to pass this to a list. Because it is showing only objects, so you have to make a list of this thing. List is again inbuilt. You can see this now. You have a list, you are applying lambda function on it. So this thing should be mapped, therefore function. So map is like this, map. The first parameter is always lambda function, comma, second parameter is the desired list on which you want to apply lambda function. Okay, so this map will ultimately give you all the items, but those items are not assigned to a variable. Okay, so you assign, that becomes a list of objects, so you have to pass this to a list. So list is inbuilt function here. So remember, when you have multiple things, so you have to pass to a list in order to get the exact value over here. Otherwise you will see only the starting address of that. Any doubt, anyone, in this lambda function? Okay. Now this lambda function can be used with other item. For example, you have a list of elements where you want to find out the elements which are even. So you will use filter. So now lambda in combination with filter, we are going to see now. say we have a list as we have this list. Let us first print the original list. Okay. Now I said we want even number to be filtered, so we have to write lambda function. So let us write lambda function. We'll give name as even only, because we want to find out even. So even, and lambda, how to write? We will write lambda, lambda space, and one any particular item, say x. Remember, in discrete mathematics, you have for the students who are in third year right now, they have learned one-to-one mapping function, one-on-two mapping function, or many-to-one mapping function. So lambda is actually example of that only. So here you can have multiple input, and it will give you the desired output. So uh, we will travel here each and every element and check whether it is even or not. If it is even, then only filter. So the lambda does first part. It find out even. How to find out that you have to define. How you will define lambda, the element name x, such that to check even number. Even number should be checked like divisible by 2. So mod operator. Okay. So x mod 2 should be equal to 0. So this is the definition of lambda for finding the even number. So it is finding the even number. So lambda is defined. Now what is remaining? Filter. So filter is again inbuilt function. Filter. Filter is just like a filtering the filtering out the required data. So filter, bracket. So it is also the syntax is very much same to map. The very filter first argument should always be lambda. So what is the lambda over here? Even. Second argument should always be on which lambda is applied. So lambda is applied on which item? List. What is the name of list? L. So therefore you will write second item as L. Okay. So again, student, if you print filter even comma L, it will give you object thing. Okay. It will give you multiple items, right? Because a list is having a multiple data, and there can be multiple even numbers. So all the numbers are taken. So that becomes a group of objects. Okay. So that thing should be assigned to someone. That variable should pass to a list so that you can have list of items. Okay. If you want to check, let us see that also. So filter even L, let us assign to some variable. Say I am giving name as A. So now A is holding some items. Let's see, if you print A, then what will happen? So you can see original list, but student, you cannot see what is item A. It is showing that filter object at so and so place. Okay. So if you want to see the all the objects, you have to pass A to a list. Okay. So therefore we will pass this to a list, or filtered list of A. So let's see this output. Okay, students, now you can see that original list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only filter, when you print function filter, it is giving you some objects. Those objects should be clubbed into some variable, therefore you will pass it into a list. So the last statement, filtered item, is showing you 2, 4, 6, 8. So students, here you can find out, I mean, without writing for loop, without writing while loop, you are traversing the list from left to right, and and you are successful, you are successful in reaching the goal. So what is the question over here? Please find out all the even elements of the list. So with the help of lambda, which is inbuilt function, you can do that. So again, I am repeating, since from the existing list, you want to find out certain items. So you have to first find out what is the criteria for selection, and the criteria for selection will go in lambda function. Okay, and retrieving the items from the original list is the job of filter function. Clear? So let me see anyone, any doubt? So you may write. Okay, so okay. Okay, students, so we have seen lambda 3 operations. I revise again. First, applying lambda function on one particular item. Second, applying lambda function on all the item of the list. So when you apply lambda function to all the item, you will use map function. To all the item, therefore map function. And then you want to apply the you want to filter something, you want to take out something, not entire list, therefore filter function. And in both the cases, lambda is the selection criteria from the list. So now let us see one more example of lambda, where say you want to find out some of all the items of the list using lambda. Now in case when you are using lambda, that means you are not using the control structure of for or while. Lambda makes everything easy. Only one statement and you will get the answer. Okay, so lambda function for, so here lambda for finding sum of elements. Here, in order to find sum of elements, how it is working, let me tell you that thing, then I will start writing the code. So you can see here, say for example, you have item, 4 items, you have 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then the next step, how it does, it will always start from, left, and since it is finding sum of the elements, so it, in order to add, you want, add is a binary operator, so you want 2 variables. So at beginning it takes first 2 numbers. Okay, so first 2 numbers are 1 and 2, so it combined, it becomes 3. Then comes third number is 3 and fourth number is 4. And the next step, what it does, combines again the first two. First two is what? 3 and 3. So it becomes 6. And then the next number is 4 you have. Then again it combines first two numbers, 6 and 4. So it becomes 10. Now it is having only one element, so that becomes the sum of elements of the list. So students, here you can observe that you at beginning you have 4 items in the list, and at the end you have only one item. That means here list is reducing. So student, the next function combined with lambda is reduce. Okay, so here the title will be lambda and reduce, finding sum of elements of a list. So again we will start with the same thing. Say L equals to some item. You can take any random item, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 8, 10. Okay. Then first of all, you have to find out what will be the lambda. So in the example which I have explained here, you observe it is always taking the two items, right? And adding it. Two items adding. Two items and adding. So lambda function, you have to write. So sum1 equals to lambda space uh, two items. So two items, say X, and you can choose any letter, say Y. Two items, and what output you are going to give? X plus Y plus. So participants, this is nothing but the definition of lambda for finding sum. Yes. Sum is binary operator, requires two operand, therefore two operand taken at left side, colon, what will be the output? X plus Y. So that means lambda, left side is input and right side is output, desired output. So do you want desired output to be X plus Y? Then comes a reduce function. Again students, the reduce function is similar to map, similar to filter in syntax. So we'll write the same part, reduce, R-E-D-U-C-E, reduce. But this reduce, no, it is included in function tool. So in order to use reduce, you have to import import it from function tool. So you have to write it like this, from function tools, FUNC tools, import reduce. Okay, now reduce will work. So you're reducing it, reduce you are calling. So since you are applying it on lambda function, therefore lambda function should be the very first argument. So sum1, comma, you are applying it on which item? You are applying it on the list. What is the name of list? L. So that means reduce is done. So again it is going to give you one item, and that item should be printed. So it is going to give you one item, therefore say its name is result. Okay, so reduce is giving you the final sum, and then that sum is stored in results, and you want to print it. So print it. So let us run this. So it is giving you the total sum. Students, here I have not used list result. Why? Because result is holding only one entity, only one number. Therefore, it should not be passed to a list. So directly reduce is actually dealing with the numbers, and finally it is going to give you one small one number. So any doubt, students? Let me check. Any doubt, anyone? So we have seen lambda, we have seen map, we have seen reduce, we have seen filter. So reduce, map, filter, all three can be combined with lambda. So now based on this, you will be given some assignment and you can solve that. Okay. So that means without using for loop also you can do operations on the list. Sir, can you please explain this again? What to explain? Reduce function. Lambda is only applicable for numerical operation, or we can use it for string also, and can we use it in tuple and dictionary? So lambda, see, lambda is a function. It is a facility. This will work only when you can define your problem perfectly. Okay. So here you can observe it is working on the numbers. So any uh, uh, composite function, if you have studied mathematical composite function, it is applicable to all the problem of that. Okay. Okay, reduce, you want to explain. So reduce, let me explain again. So reduce here, if you observe, initially we have all four items, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is asked that please find out sum. So generally, what is the human thinking when human sees any two items and if you want to find out the sum, so it first combine the first two. So okay, first two combine, then see the next item combine, fourth item, next item combine, and finally it sees the result. So during this process, you will observe that the array item is getting reduced. Okay. So therefore, to facilitate that in Python, we have in function tools, we have reduce function. So it is inbuilt. So in order to use reduce, you have to import it from the function tools. So from function tools, import reduce. Okay. And the operation which you are applying, you are adding the two numbers. So therefore, that will be the definition of lambda. So lambda, the two items x and y, you can write anything, what any variables if you want. So x and y colon x plus y. So x plus y is what the target. So when lambda function sees the two items, it gives you addition of that. So that means in that manner the list is reducing. Okay. So the reduce function is called over here. So it is applied on the list is having multiple item. So when the two items are added, so reduce is reducing that, it is reducing till list is having only one item, and then that item is stored in the result. So reduce is continuously iteratively adding the item of the list which you are passing in the reduce function. Yes, mathematical function you can perform. Someone is getting error. Okay, you got it. Okay. Okay, so let us move ahead. One small task I would like to give you. Uh, calculate minimum, calculate minimum element of list using lambda. Using lambda. And which other function will be combined along with this lambda? Can anyone tell? Uh, Prathamesh, okay. Minimum is inbuilt function. You can apply minimum. Very good. MIN, min, round bracket, you will pass the variable. Okay. Prathamesh is asking, could we use map instead of reduce? No. Map is applicable to all the element of the list, whereas reduce is reducing the list in order to get the answer. So you have to be very choosy which one should be applicable. Try to solve this one. Calculate minimum element of the list. Okay. So somebody has posted the screenshot, but he has not used lambda. See, you have to find out minimum using lambda. There are n number of way to find out minimum, but here I'm specifically asking with the help of lambda function. Okay, so all of you, along with so typing program, you can check. Here I'm also typing. Say we have a number 10, 20, 30, 5, and 11. So on this, I want to find out minimum element along with the help of a lambda function. So first, let me print the original list. Okay. Then applying lambda function. So I want to find out minimum. Min is inbuilt. That's why you can see this color change. So you just change it mini. So minimum lambda space. Now again, in order to find out minimum, you should have two elements, right? Therefore, two elements x comma y. What will be the result? Result will be minimum. So minimum is a keyword over here which is finding the minimum. So you will write minimum, min, min. Min of what? Min of x and y. Therefore you will write x comma y over here. So this is the way to define lambda function. So lambda function will see the two items and it will pass it to the minimum function and get the minimum value. So students, when it is traversing from left to right, two items minimum got 10, then 10 30 minimum 10, 10 40 minimum 10, 10 5 minimum 5, 5 11 minimum 5. So that means means the list should be shrink, it should reduce. So here in this problem statement we are going to use reduce. Okay, so use. Again, in order to use reduce, uh, you have to use the function tools over here. So from function tools, import. Okay, so the first parameter should always be a lambda. So lambda is mini comma, second parameter on the which list you want to apply. So list name is L, and then it is going to give you one value. So that value you assign some say variable result. Okay, then you can print that result. Print. Result. So it is giving you 5. Okay, so this is done. Let me see the output. Many of you have posted the output here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here when it is asked to use lambda, so first thing is that you have to find out criteria. You have to make a mapping function where left side should be input and right side should be the desired output. Okay, and then you can combine that lambda with map, reduce, or filter depending on your problem statement. Okay, and the map, reduce, or filter, it is having a two argument. First argument will always be a lambda function, and second argument is nothing but the place where you want to apply lambda function. Okay, okay, very nice. So next one, can we use it for tuple and dictionary? Yes, tuple is what, similar to a list only, but what is the difference when tuple come, I will tell you, so don't be in hurry. Okay, so let's do the other part. See, at the end of the day, we are going to share all this problem statement with you. So code also will be shared on the WhatsApp group, so that you can type and you can check it. Okay, you just try to understand, write down the small points, like how to use lambda with other functions. So what is the steps? So you just write down that point. So here we are not using any control structure, so there is no problem of indentation because everything is aligned in one indentation. Okay, so let us do one more example. uh, Sorting the list according to the last name. Uh, that means, I have a list of strings where a string holds the name of a person, and based on the surname of the person, I should do a. Okay, so let's see that. Say I have names as a list, and in that I have some names. Say my favorite, and I have. Okay, so I have some names in the name list, and here target is that extract the surname and make a list of surname, and then sort the item based on the surname only. So, so students, here you have to first find out the lambda function. Somebody asked before, sir, can we use lambda function on string? Yes. So this is the example of that. Okay. when you can anything, listen, when you can find anything mathematically, then you can use it. Okay, so you can see here, so making a lambda, uh, say variable, and making a lambda function, so like write lambda. Okay, uh, now you want to find out last name. So what is the input over here? Name is the input, right? Name. Don't get confused, students. Don't get confused between names and name. Huh? Here, when you are defining lambda, you can use any variable, okay, which is not used in the program. The names is used, but name is not used. Therefore, I am using name. So I am taking a name as input of any person's name, and then what I will do, I will split that name and I will find out the last value. For example, Baljot Kohli, name is taken. I will split. So split based on the space. So it becomes the two item, Baljot Kohli. Then it becomes an array. Baljot Kohli is one array or list. So last element is what? Kohli. So in order to get the last element of the list, students, we use the index -1. Okay, so I'm going to use that over here. So name input I have taken. So name I will split. So name dot split. Okay, and this function name dot split will break the name into two part or three part, whatever, always assuming that the last value is the surname. So last value index -1. So this is going to give you the last value. Sometimes this uh, list may contain capital letter for the surname. I mean, Baljot first letter is B, and then Kohli, the first letter of surname is capital K. Okay, but here I have taken all the letters in small, okay, lowercase only. If suppose it is combination of upper and lower, so you can convert that to a lower. So this is the way. So that means name is input. Output will be what? Output is depending on the name dot split. Gets the multiple words, and -1 will give you the last word dot lower. It will convert all the character of the last word into the lower case. Okay. So this is nothing but the definition of lambda. That means mathematically or logically, I can define, therefore I can make a lambda. So this is done. Then uh, when we visit the names array, we will get one item, then one item from over here, then one item from over here, then one item from here. Get the multiple items. Okay, I'm going to get the multiple items. So all the multiple item should be stored into one list of last name. That means surname ka I should have a list. So therefore I am making a list last name, which is equal to list of last. See, last is a function. When you print last, no students, you will get that this is the object and so place. But this last function, when you pass through a thing, you get a lot of items. So therefore, you convert that to a list. Okay. this part first. First, let me go through each and every item I'm going there. For map, lambda function last applied on which array names. Okay, and then it should be stored somewhere, say surname. So here I should have a list of surname, not last, list of surname. Okay, so let us try to print this and see what is coming.
Yes, sir. Print statement, sir.
Sorry, sir. Oh,
Print statement.
oh, sorry. Print last name. Okay. So here surname is extracted and combined to one list. So you will get all the surname over here. Once you got the surname, you will apply the ready-made function. The ready-made function here comes in two parts. First one is the part of list. So we say it as list method. Okay, and the second one is the normal general function. Okay, so first one, list method will do a changes in the same list only, and the second one is the function which takes another list and copy the items ascending order. So we'll see that first. So I'm using the function first. Say the function name is sorted. This is inbuilt function. So the element should be going to give you the answer. So the items are arranged in the alphabetically ascending order. So this is the way to sort the items. Okay. And the second way, if you want to print, and you may print like this. The list name is last name dot the method anyway we are going to cover this part. very soon after this. Anyone, any doubt in this? Let me see. Um, uh, in the previous example, I have used mini. Mini is user defined, whereas min is inbuilt. Therefore, I have used over here the name as mini. Okay, a min is inbuilt. So min is having a two arguments. So it is used for finding the minimum of the two. The what is -1 index? So students, the list the items when you want to access from right to left. So the very rightmost item is indicated by its index as -1. So let us see this value over here, which we have done. So if you want to print list -1, what will happen? That means it is going to print the last element, which is nothing but 11. So you can see here 11 is printed. Similarly, second last you will do -2, -3, and so on. So that means in Python you have facility to traverse from beginning as well as from the ending part, ending end also. So what if we don't use the lower function? In this question, if you don't use lower function, that means the characters know every character is having a fixed ASCII value, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So the capital K is different from small k. Okay, here capital A value is 65, then 65 onwards you will count 26 characters. Then somewhere in 97, 98 you will start with the small letters. So when you compare the two items, no, the ASCII value will be taken from the string, from the character value. So 97 is compared with 65, though the surname, both surname is A. You understand? So the problem may occur. Therefore, to make it uniform, convert everything to a lower case. Therefore, it is used over here dot lower. Here, if you don't use lower, it's okay because here all the letters are in small letter only. So it won't give you error. But in other case, if you use capital K or capital G and without using this lower, you want to do the sum, then you may get the wrong output. Okay.
Jay sir,
Sir.
so done with this lambda functions and everything, sir.
Yes, lambda function is done.
So can we request Vijay sir to start from try except part?
Okay.
Vijay sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Can you take over from here, sir?
Yes.
Exception handling.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have handed over you the host, sir. So you can
Okay.
start sharing your screen.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, hello everyone. We are going to start with the exception handling right now.
Vijay sir.
Sir.
Can you change the host, sir?
Okay. Just a second.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, so we are going to start with the exception handling right now. So there are different kinds of errors. Okay, the different kinds of errors can be compile time error, then you have the logical error, then you have the runtime error. Now, when do you get the compile time error? So if I'll say, if let's say, if I'm writing a is equals to 5, and then I'm saying b is equals to 7, and then I'm comparing. If a is greater less than b, and purposely I'm not including the colon over here, and let's say print high. And when I execute this, when you run this code, you are getting some error. So this is called as a compile time error. You are getting compile time error because there is something wrong over here. So what is wrong here? I have to mention the colon over here. So as soon as you mention the colon, and when you execute this, you're getting the output. So while compiling the code of a block, if you get any error, that is called as a compile time error. Then the next type of error is a logical error. Now, logical error you will be getting, let's say when you have two numbers, 2 and 3, and when you want to perform the addition of those two numbers, the result should be 5. But you are not getting the result as 5. Instead of 5, let's say you are getting 7 or 10 or whatever any other number, any number other than 5, then that is called as a logical error. Then comes the runtime error. Now, what is runtime error? In case of runtime error, you will not get any error after running this, after executing that code of a block. So runtime error will happen. It will occur for some specific instance of an input. Runtime error will occur for some specific instance of an input. So let's say here, if you have two numbers, A and B, I'm saying the value of A is 5, the value of B is 0. And then if I want to perform the division, A divide B, then this will give you the error, which is called as a runtime error, because you cannot divide any number by 0. Or rather, if you'll ask the user to enter the value of A, enter the value of B. So if the user is entering the value of A as 5 and the user is entering the value of B as 0, and when you are performing the division A divided by B, and then when you are displaying its value, in that case, you will be getting some error, which is basically the runtime error, because you cannot divide any number by 0. Okay, so to handle such kind of runtime error, there comes a concept of exception handling. Okay, there comes a concept of exception handling. So what is this exception basically? It is a runtime error which can be handled by the programmer. Okay, so the user has to write some logic in case if the user of that software is entering some inappropriate value, then your program should get executed by displaying some message or by performing some action on it. Okay, so an exception is a runtime error which can be handled by the programmer. That means if the programmer can guess an error in the program and he can do something to eliminate the harm caused by that error, then it is called as an exception. Okay, so we'll see some example right now. Let's say I want to ask the user to enter some number. So I'll say num is equals to input. I'll type here enter number. Okay, and then after this, I want to typecast this into integer. Then I'll be saying num is equals to int of num. And then if I, okay, see here, as you can see here, what I'm asking the user is to enter some number. Okay, and that's in the next statement, that number is being typecasted into of type integer. But what input I have provided over here, it's not an integer, it's not a number, it's some string. Okay, it cannot be converted into integer. So hence it has thrown some error. It has thrown some error. So how we are going to handle this? In this, I'll be using the concept of try and except. So we will be using a try block. In this try block, you will be including the statements which are called as a critical statements. Critical statements are the statements which can be the cause of the error. Okay, so I'll say in the try block, num is equals to int of num. So this can be the statement by which we are going to get the error. If there will be any error for this, then we are going to handle it with the help of except block, and we'll display some message saying that this is not a number. Okay. So when you execute this here, and if I'll say enter number, if I'll say Vijay here, then it is giving me this is not a number. In the previous case, you were getting the error. Okay, you were getting the error, but right now we have determined that which is a statement which can cause the error. So that particular statement has to be included in a try block, and what action has to be taken to rectify that error, that statement or those particular group of statement has to be included in the except block. So we'll see this with a proper example right now here. Let's say we'll ask the user to enter the two numbers and we are going to convert them into integer. So here, whatever first number user is going to enter, that we are storing in a variable called as a num1. And then the same way we are going to ask the user to input the second number. So after this, I'm going to perform the division of this. The result is equals to num1 divided by num2. Okay. Now, when there comes the division of two numbers, can you tell me, can you think of it, which can be the critical statement? See the first statement, which is taking the input from the user, converting into integer. Okay, that cannot be a big deal here. But when it comes to the performing the division, so we are going to put this statement of performing the division in a try block, and then we are going to display the result. So in this, as we know that the problem or the critical statement that can happen is with the division operation over here. So if the user is entering the number 2 as 0, okay, in that case, the kind of error that you will be getting is zero division error. Okay, to handle this, you will be using the except block with the name of uh, with the name of the error that it is going to throw it is zero division error. And then in that case, you will display the message saying that you cannot divide any number by 0. So let's run this code snippet. Enter number 1, if I'll say 5. Enter number 2, if I'll say 0. Then it is saying you cannot divide any number by 0. Okay, so it is initially taking the input from the user that gets stored in a variable called as num1. Then the second value gets stored in num2. Then it is going inside the try block. It is calculating the result, which is num1 divided by num2. And then it will print a result. But whenever, as soon as it encounters that the user has entered number 2 as 0, this division cannot be performed. So it will go to this except block, and it is handling this exception of type 0 division error. Then there we are resolving this error. Resolving as in we are just performing some action in such a way that you're not getting any kind of error after executing this complete code. I hope this is clear. Zero division error. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear what is this? What is the use of this exception? There are various types of exceptions. So after this, we are going to see one more type in which, let's say, in the try block, I'll say a is equals to 20, and then I'm trying to determine the length of this a. So in the next example, in the try block, you have a variable called as a with the value of 20. Then we are trying to determine the length of a. You cannot determine the length of integer data type. Okay. So hence, as we are determining the length of some object which cannot be determined. So for this, it will throw the exception of type error. And when it would be handled, it is going to give you the message saying that wrong type of argument is passed to the length function. So when you'll execute this, you will get this error. Then we'll see the concept of else keyword. So now in this code snippet, what we are doing is in this try block, we have included a statement in which we are asking the user to enter some number. Just a second, instead of name, it's a number here. Enter some number, okay, and then we are typecasting it into an integer data type. So if the user is not inputting some number, instead of that he's putting some string, so in that case, except block will get executed. If this except block doesn't get executed, the control will go to the else part and it will give you this statement saying that you entered the number. So when except block gets executed, it doesn't go to the else part. So let's say it says enter the number. If I'll say 15, when you are entering this number 15, in this case, this except block is not getting executed. The control is not going inside this except block. Whereas this else part is getting executed. Now, if I'll run this again with the number, let's say if I'm saying Vijay over here. Now, in this case, it is going inside the except block in which it is saying print, this is not a number and it is not going to the else part. So apart from this try, except and else block, you have the concept of finally as well. So I'll show you the concept of finally with the same example itself. So as we have seen that when if there is any error is thrown by this try block, it would be handled by the except block. If except block gets executed, it doesn't go to the else part. If except block doesn't get executed, it will execute the else part. And finally is a block which will always execute whether your exception is handled or not handled. So when you run this here, execute, enter number, if I'll say 15, okay. After this, as it's a valid integer, there is no any error thrown by this try block. So except will not execute. The control will go to the else part in which you are saying you entered the number, whatever I entered, which is 15. And after that, finally block gets executed. So finally block will always get executed whether any error is thrown or not thrown. Now let's say if I'll execute the same thing in which I'm enter the number as Vijay, okay, there is some exception is being thrown over here, error is thrown, so which is being handled by this except block. It says this is not a number. As this except block is getting executed, the control will not go to the else part, but it is going to the finally block where it is displaying thanks for checking the code. So finally block will always get executed with regardless of whether any exception is thrown or not. I hope this part is clear. Just let me know in the group. Is this part clear? The concept of exception handling. So I'm getting the responses. Thank you guys. So we have seen there are three different kinds of errors: compile time error, then you have the logical error, then comes your runtime error. So compile time error you will be getting when there is something wrong in the syntax or of the block. Logical error is basically you will be getting when you are performing the addition of two numbers. Let's say 2 plus 3. The intended output should be 5, but you are not getting 5. Other than 5, you are getting something else. So that is called as your logical error. And the finally is the runtime error. So basically the exception part is used for handling the runtime errors. Nikhil is saying something except exception 1, exception 2 as E. Without as E is fine too. So you have to mention the type of the exception if you know that which kind of exception can be thrown by that block of the statement. If you're not sure, simply you can say the except, then that part gets executed. So you have to mention except. So if there is any type error, so you'll be mentioning except type error. If there is any other kind of error that can be thrown by the try block, so you will be mentioning for that except zero division error and so on. So after this comes the concept of user-defined function, user-defined exceptions. So there can be some exceptions which can be handled by the part that the user is going to handle it. So that concept you will be understanding when we'll do the concept of class and object. So that we'll see later on, the user-defined exception. So after this, we are going to start with the concept of list. You all are using this list for the various examples that we have been doing since so many days. So what is this list basically here? There are certain features or the attributes of the list. Okay, I'll simply write over here. The first part is heterogeneous. Then the next is, it is dynamic in nature. After this, it maintains insertion order. Okay. So list is heterogeneous in nature. Heterogeneous means what? It can have elements which are not of same data type. Okay, not like your array. In case of array, all the elements of the array will be of the same data type, whereas in case of list, the elements can be of different data types. It's not necessary that all the elements should be of same type. Then it is dynamic in nature. Okay, it is dynamic in nature. That means whenever you want to add more elements to the list, you can do that. Whenever you want to remove any element from the list, that can be done. So hence it is dynamic. Then next is it maintains the insertion order. So in the way you will be inserting the elements in the list, the same way it will be displaying the elements. So let's say I'm creating a list, an empty list, x is equals to, and it is represented in a square bracket. List is always represented in a square bracket. And let's say if I want to determine what is the type of this, so I'll say type of x. And when I'll execute this, you are getting the output as list. Okay, because you have mentioned it in square brackets. Now, I'm going to include some elements in the list, 10, 20, 30. Okay, these are the different elements which are there in the list. And after that, if I want to print those elements, okay, so you will be saying print, what to print? X. Okay, what is your X? It's a list. And then here, if I'll say colon 2 here, or instead of 2, rather I'll put 1 here. Okay, now there is a list X which consists of 3 elements, 10, 20, and 30. I'm displaying the elements of the list with the help of the print method. I'm passing this X, which is the name of the list. And here is the starting. Okay, I'm not mentioning that from which element I want to display. If you're not mentioning anything, then by default, it will start from the element which is at the 0th index, which is 10 in this case. And after this colon, you have the thing where you want to stop, or the element before this one should be stopped. So as in this case, if you have print x in the square bracket colon 1, okay, colon 1 means what? You will be displaying the elements of the list x and till which position, just the element which is before the location 1 or the index 1. So if you'll see here, the element which is at index 0 is 10, the element which is at index 1 is 20, the element which is at index 3 is 0, 1, and 2 here. So index is 0, 1, and 2 here. So if I'm saying here x colon 1, so that means just before 1 it has to stop. So before 1 it has to stop means it will start from 10, and before index 1 is your index 0, so it is displaying 10 only here. And if you want to say print the contents of the list x, okay, and it should stop before 2. Okay, this is the index 2. So where is your index 2? This is your index 0, index is 1, index is 2. So before this index 2, it will stop. So it is going to display the elements 10 and 20. So hence it is displaying 10 and 20 over there. So in this case, we have seen just the elements are of the same type. Now I'll create a list which is consisting of the elements of different data types, heterogeneous. Let's say here you have the list y, which consists of the elements 1, Ajay, and then next is 12.5. After that you have true, and then finally, let's say again a string, hello. Okay, and then if I want to update some element, instead of Ajay, if I want to make it as Vijay, then what you will be doing is, this element Ajay is at which location? It is at index number 1. Element 1 is at index number 0. Ajay element is at index number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want to update this. Okay, so I'll be doing this. I'll say y of 1. So that means the element which is at index 1 of the list y. I want to make it as Vijay. Okay, and then I'll say print this list y. And if you'll execute this, it is showing you this. You can remove the element also from the list. Let's say here, if I want to remove some element, so if I want to remove this element 12.5 from this list y, okay, 12.5 is there, so I want to remove this. So I'll say r is equals to y. What is this y here? Y is the name of the list. Y dot remove. I'll say 12.5 and then print this r, and after this I'm going to print your list which is in y. So when you execute this here, the first is your none. Okay, this remove method does not return anything. Remove method does not return anything, so hence it is saying none. And then for the print y, it is showing you the list after removing the element 12.5 from that list. So the remove method is used if you want to remove any specific element. Okay, there comes the concept of pop method as well. What is the use of pop? That we'll see now. So if you see here, your list consists of elements as 1, which are true, and hello. Okay, the pop method is used if you want to remove the lastmost element of your list. The students, those who are from the second year presently, they must be knowing the concept of data structure stack, which operates on the concept of LIFO, last in, first out. So basically what this pop method does is it will remove the last element of the list and it will be stored in a variable called as r, so that we are displaying with the print method. And then after removing that element, we are going to display the rest of the list. So it has removed that element hello. Okay, and then it is displaying the rest of the elements of the list after removing that last element. So remove method is used if you want to remove any specific element that you know. Pop method is used if you want to remove the last element of the list. After this, let's say I'll just copy paste this part here. Okay, after this, we'll see the concept of append. If you want to add something to this existing list, now the elements which are there in your list are 1, Vijay, and true. Now, if you want to insert, let's say 12.5 again, you want to insert in this list. So you will be making the use of append method. So I'll say y dot append. What is this y here? Y is the name of the list. I'm going to append 12.5. Okay, and when I'll execute this, then I'll display this. So it says 1 is a true and 12.5. So whatever element you are going to insert with the help of append method, that elements always gets inserted at the end of the list. Okay, but if you want to insert some element at a specific location, that can be done with the help of insert method. So let's say if I want to say y dot insert, now let's say in place of this true, just before this, now what's the location of this true element? It is index is 2. The element which is true over here, its index is 2. So I want to insert some other element at index 2. So I'll say y dot insert 2 is the index where you want to insert. You will see here new element. Okay. And then after this, display this y. So you will be getting new element at index number 2. Whereas the true and 12.5, they all have been shifted to the next index. So append method will be adding a new element at the end of the list, whereas insert method would be inserting the element at a specific location wherever you want. Then you can reverse the list as well. To reverse a list, you have a function called as reverse. Okay, and then display this y. Okay, just a second. So you're after reversing, this is your list, okay, in which the list would be completely reversed. Now let's say I have a new list with the elements as 1, 1, 1, and then you have 2, 3, 4, again 3. Now in this, if you want to count that how many times a specific element has occurred in this entire list, for this you will be making the use of a count method. So I'll say CNT is equals to the name of the list, which is L dot count. So I want to count how many times element 1 is appearing in this list. Okay, and then I'll simply print this count. So if you see here, we are counting the number of times this element 1 is occurring. So 1 is occurring 3 times in this list. So that's what we are printing over here. If you will say 5 over here, it says 0 because that element 5 doesn't appear in your list at all. So that is the use of the count method to count how many times a specific element is appearing in your list. Then comes the concept of index. Okay, now instead of this count here, I'll say index of 1. So I want to determine the index of this element 1. Okay, but if you see there are 3 occurrences of this element 1, so it is going to return you the first occurrence. It is going to return you the first time wherever it can determine this element 1. So this index 1 is here at element 1 is there at index 0, so hence it is giving you 0. Now if I want to determine what is the index of 2, so if you'll see manually from this list, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it is at index 3. So if I'll execute this, you will get the output as 3. Hope this concept is clear. Count and index. Count method is going to do what it is going to return is the number of times a specific element is appearing in your list. Index will give you the first time wherever it can encounter the first time that element. Then let's say if I have list 1 as 1, 2, 3, and after this you have list 2 as 4, 5, and 6. So what I want to do is I want to combine these two lists into a new list. Okay, to combine or to concatenate these two lists, I'll say list is equals to list 1 plus list 2, and then I'm going to display this newly created list. So these two lists are combined into a new list called as the LIS, and that is being displayed over here with the help of print method. Apart from this, plus operator over here, you can make use of extend method as well. Okay, so let's see how this works. Extend. So what I want to extend is I want to extend list one. Okay, I want to extend this list one with list two, and then I will be displaying this list one. And when you execute this, still you'll be getting the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if there is certain part which you want to display multiple number of times, so if I want to display the contents of this list one 3 times, so I'll say list one is equals to 3 star list one. So this is basically for the repetition purpose. And then I'll say print list one. And after executing this, you'll be getting the contents of that list one as many times you have mentioned over here. So 3 I've mentioned here, since it is displaying 1, 2, 3 for the first time, second time, and finally here for the third time. Then you can make use of, basically you can compare, you can check whether the two lists are exactly same or not. So your list one is 1, 2, 3. So I'll create list two as again with the same elements 1, 2, and 3. Let me make this. When you say print list one equals to list two, so that means you are comparing these two lists. If they would be exactly same, your output would be true. Okay, if I'll add something else, in which case these two lists are not exactly same, then it's going to return false over here. Then comes the concept of slicing. What is this slicing? Basically, slicing is a concept in which you can display some subset of the entire list. Okay, some subset or even the entire list. If I'll say your list one consists of the elements as I have 9 elements in this list. The index of element 1 is 0. The index of element 2 is 1, so on. So the index of the last element would be 8 over here. But I don't want to display this entire list. I'm interested only some subset of this. So I'll say list 2 is equals to, from this list 1, I want to consider, let's say, only the elements, these elements, 2, 3, and 4. If I'm interested only in these elements, 2, 3, and 4, so if you'll see, if you'll observe that the index of element 2 is 1, okay, so I'll mention here 1. And then, as we are interested in these 3 elements, the index of 2 is 1, the index of element 3 is 2, the index of element 4 is 3. So if I'll mention 3 over here, then you will not get the proper output. I have to mention 4 here. If I'll mention 4, that means just before that fourth index, it is going to consider. So this is your index number 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then you will print this list too. So that's what you're getting the output 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we want to start from 1. And we do not want to stop at 4. Just before 4 we want to stop. Okay, before 4, fourth index is at element number 5. So before this index we want to stop. So hence you have to mention that ending index accordingly, and then we are displaying this. So if you want to display all the elements, you can make use of this length method, length of list one. So if you see the length of this list is 9. Okay, so this would be the value over here, 9. And the list is being displayed after that. So basically the first index indicates what here? The index from which you want to display. Okay, and the second part is indicating what? You do not want to stop at 4. You want to consider only till third index. If I have to display the last element of this list, I can make use of list one of -1. Okay, as you are having the index numbers as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, then you have the indexing in negative as well, in which the index of -1 is assigned to the last element, then comes -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. So if I want to access the last element, so I'll say list one of, or I'll directly put it in the print here. So you can see here in the final output, you have got 9, which is the last element. And it is at the index number -1. And if you want to access the second last element, you will be writing list one of -2. So that would be your 8. If you want to access third last element, you will be writing list one of -3. In that case, you will be getting output as 7. Now, if you want the list in the reverse order, okay, so I'll say I'll put this in the print method. Print list one, okay. So basically there are 3 parts. The first is the starting index. Then after the starting, then next you have the stopping index, and finally is the step part. Okay, if you're not mentioning the step part, by default it will consider as a 1. Okay, if you're not mentioning the starting index, by default it is going to start from the index 0, but you have to mention the stop. If you see in the last statement over here, I haven't mentioned the starting, okay, and then I haven't mentioned the stop in this case, but I've mentioned the step as -1. If I've mentioned the step as -1, so instead of going from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, it will go from 0 to -1, -1 to -2, -2 to -3, and so on. So if you'll execute this, you will be getting your list in completely reverse order, because from 0, it is not incrementing to +1. It is going 0 to -1, -1 to -2. So your index 0 is over here. So from 0 to -1 is this 9, then -2, -3, and so on. It is displaying the elements. I hope these methods are clear to you. So Shubham has posted, can I print list in reverse order using negative index? Yes, that's what we have done just now. So I hope this list part is clear to everyone. So after this, we have the concept of tuple as well. So that we are going to see now. A tuple is always mentioned in a round brackets, okay, whereas list is mentioned in the square bracket. Tuple is mentioned in the round bracket. So I'll put some elements in this one, okay, and then let's say Ajay, and after that 12.5. and then true. So I'm creating a tuple with the name TUP, okay, and now I'm just displaying this tuple. When I'm displaying a tuple, you are getting the elements, whatever order it is there. Now, if I want to update something the way we have done in case of list, let's see whether this tuple is working or not for this updating. So right now at first index, what is element? It is Ajay. Now, if I want to make this as Vijay instead of Ajay, so I will try this tuple of 1 is equals to Vijay. So this gives you the error, okay? Because you cannot change the contents. You cannot change the contents of this tuple once it is created. Whereas the same operation could have been done with the help of list, but in tuple it is not permitted. Now, if you want to display the contents of tuple some specific number of time, that can be done the same way we have done for the list. So if I'll say tuple is equals to 2 times of tuples, basically for the repetition purpose. I have to declare this. So if you want to display this twice, so you will simply say tuple is equals to 2 times of tuple. So it is displaying twice. This is the first time. And from thereafter, it is displaying the second time. So this star is basically used for the repetition purpose. And the same operation can be performed whether the two tuples are same or not. The way you have done for the list, you will be comparing with the help of double equal sign here. You will be creating two tuples, tuple 1, tuple 2, with the elements in the round bracket, not in the square bracket. And then simply you will say print tuple 1 is equals to tuple 2. If both the tuples would be exactly same, your output would be true. Otherwise, it will give you false. So that's it for the day till now. So we'll see more examples of this slicing part in tomorrow's lecture. Then it would be more clear. Tuple is heterogeneous. Yes, it is heterogeneous. Is it to print till an index spacing for list 1, 2, 3, 4? So if you're getting any errors, so just try to execute this. And if you're getting error, then we'll help you out. Any further doubts? So you can mention the step value as anything, whatever you want. It is not necessary that it has to be 1 and -1. When it is 1, it will go in the normal straight direction. When you put it as -1, it will go in the reverse direction. You can mention it as 2 as well. So it will consider every alternate element. So this part we'll see in tomorrow's lecture in detail, slicing part. Other than this slicing part, anything else? Should we wind up here? Vijay sir? Vijay sir? Okay, thank you everyone. So we'll meet day after tomorrow again.
Class, if you have any expectations, or it's like you want something else to be covered other than these points, or you want more examples on particular topic, so please post it on WhatsApp group so that we can add it to our list.
This slicing part we'll see more detail in the next class.
Yes, there will be a complete segment on that. There are many variations in slicing, so we'll cover all the variations. If you have nothing to say, can we conclude the session? Class, please respond. Vijay sir, thank you sir.
Yeah.
So we can
Okay.
conclude the session.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Have a nice day. Stay safe.